Here at Sussex, there are hundreds of new students each year starting on joint degrees. In fact, in my subject, International Relations, there are more students on joints than on our single honours course. There are lots of great reasons for taking a joint degree, but there are also some challenges too, and it's a good idea to know about these from the start. So what are these challenges? Well, last year, the Student Union ran a survey of joint students to find out about their experience. One of the things they found out was that some of them have a wicked sense of humour. Question 5, for example, was, what are the main issues for joint honours students? And student number 33 gave the following reply, having to bitch about 2 subjects instead of 1. Yes, it's a hard life having to be rude about more than one thing at a time. Now, I'm going to come back to that survey in a minute, but first I want to just make sure that we all understand how joint degrees work. In a single honours course, at least 2/3 of the credits which make up the degree have to be from the main subject. In international relations, it's even more than that, so pretty much everything is run from one place. Nearly all the teaching is inside the IR department, and all the admin is managed by the School of Global Studies, of which international relations is a part. It's very straightforward. But in our joint honours courses, the credits are split 50-50 between the 2 subjects. And in all joints at Sussex, each subject must have at least 40% of the credits. So that means that your studies are more or less split half and half between 2 departments, and possibly even between 2 schools. The only thing that isn't split is the admin of your degree course. And usually it's the subject named first in the degree title that tells you which school the degree is based in. So, for example, International Relations and Sociology is based in Global Studies, where International Relations is. But Politics and International Relations is based in the School of Law, Politics and Sociology, because politics comes first in the title. Finally, one last general point. At Sussex, joint honours means 2 subjects studied side by side with each other. It does not mean a mixture of the 2. So in the case of IR and sociology, there are IR modules and there are sociology modules. But IR and sociology are not themselves combined inside any of the modules you take. And there's a reason for this. We think that if you choose to do a joint degree in 2 subjects, it's not because you want something in between those 2 subjects. It's because you have a really strong interest in both of them, and you want to develop a degree-level competence in each of them in its own right. And that's what a Sussex joint degree is designed to do. It gives you the skills and knowledge of 2 subjects instead of 1. So you're doing the same total number of modules as single honours students, but instead of focusing on one subject core and filling it out with extra options and electives, you're using that extra space in the degree to do 2 cores instead. So, what kinds of challenges does that bring with it? Well, here I want to go back to that Student Union survey, because when you go through the results, it turns out there are 3 main challenges. But here's the interesting bit. It also turns out that the things they find challenging are the very same things that our joint students identify as being where the real value added of a joint degree comes from. So let's have a look at these 3 challenges. Here's the first one. Workload feels bigger than single honours. If you do all your modules from one subject, there's bound to be some overlap between the content of the different modules. And that means that you can get the hang of a new module much quicker and with less work than if much fewer of your modules come from the same subject. For this reason, joint students sometimes look at single honours students and think there's a kind of economy of scale that helps them, even if the total number of modules is the same. On the other hand, joint students also look at single honours students who sometimes get tired out doing all their modules on just one subject. When a joint student gets tired of one of their subjects, they can switch to the other and get refreshed by changing what they're working on. And that means that they can keep going longer. Here's the second one. The two subjects are not integrated. They run alongside each other without being brought into a direct dialogue. Now, I already mentioned this, and joint students do sometimes feel that they're inhabiting two parallel intellectual universes that never meet. But actually, that same separateness can also be very helpful. A lot of students in the survey said that because they were learning to think in two different ways, that meant that they could see more about each of them than if they were thinking only inside one box, as it were. It enabled them to develop a critical perspective on both their subjects, which actually means they could understand things about the strengths and limitations of each subject, which even people working full-time on that subject couldn't so easily see. My two departments work differently. This was a big one in the survey. Students not only found that they had to hand in their essays in different places, they also found that different departments had different procedures, different deadlines, even different expectations of what an essay should look like, right down to the question of how you should write out the title of a book or an article when you cite it in your essay. But guess what? Some of these same students also said that learning how to do things in different ways gave them confidence and made them see that they could adapt to a complex and varied set of demands. And I think they were right to draw confidence from this, because this kind of adaptability is actually one of the key skills that you need in order to have a successful career in the global knowledge economy, which after all is where most of our graduates build their future lives. So I think it all comes down really to this. When you choose to do a joint honours degree at Sussex, you do take on some challenges which single honours students don't have to face. And it's a good idea to know about them from day one. But you don't take them on alone. There are lots of people to help you out, from your academic advisor, through your subject coordinator in the school office, and of course, your fellow joints students. And you also get opportunities for intellectual and life skill development that single honours students don't get in the same way. Oh, I almost forgot. There is, of course, that fourth issue, the one that I already mentioned earlier on, having to bitch about two subjects instead of one. But I think we know the answer to that one already. After all, it means you can study your two favourite subjects at the same time. And that, I assume, is the reason why you'd be doing a joint degree in the first place.